Now I remembered. Here it is. Here's the coming events, everyone, in case you're interested. You want to pay attention very closely. This coming week on Friday night, for example, we're going to be wrapping gifts to give out to the community, young people. That's going to be at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. I think that's December the 20th, to wrap toys. If you're interested, anybody who's interested, just come to the church at that time. On Saturday, we're going to be giving out toys to the community. We have over 300 toys. Phil Forty came here yesterday unannounced with another 75 or so toys. So I think we have about 350 or 375 toys, brand new toys, still in the box. All going to be wrapped, all going to be given out on Saturday at 12 o'clock. So if you want to help with that, just be here. It should be, as it has in the past, be a great program. Then on Christmas Eve, our worship service is going to start at 7:30 p.m. We'll have communion. We're going to have the choir sing. We're going to have the Sunday school sing. And we're going to have a short sermon, and we're going to have candle lighting that night, so you don't want to miss that. And please make a note of it, on Christmas Day, we will not have a worship service. So if you plan to come, I wouldn't, because you won't be able to get in. Yeah, don't do that. So Christmas Day, we will not have a worship service. But Christmas Eve, we will. There's another church, by the way, talking about coming Christmas Eve to join us. So we'll see if that proves to be a reality. Now, we want to thank everybody. A lot of good things happened here yesterday. Pastor Talbert from downstairs, who meets downstairs chapel, his group had, they gave away clothing and food yesterday. Now, I don't know if they advertised because there were no signs outside, but he had a lot of people here. So I don't know how that happened. But a lot of people here, got a lot of clothes given away. Fantastic. We've been picking up coats. And so that was a great thing yesterday. Decorating yesterday, Ron and Irene, Margaret, Kyan, Joe, Joshua, Matthew, Tom, and Rev. I didn't miss anybody, right? We're here, did all this, donated everything. Great day yesterday. And so there's a lot of great things happening this Christmas season. So don't forget it. So what I want to talk about today is, first of all, Zechariah, when he was told his wife's going to have a baby and the baby's going to be the predecessor of Jesus is coming, Zechariah, everything was going well. He was a priest, and he went behind there, and the angel revealed this all to him, and he said the wrong thing. Now, if God reveals himself to you and an angel appears to you in the next couple of weeks, be careful about your reaction. Because if you have the wrong reaction, there's going to be a reciprocal reaction that is going to happen in your life. For example, when God told him this miracle was going to happen, that his wife, they were older couple, was going to have a baby, his reaction was, how can this be? If God reveals a miracle to you, do not say, how can this be? Say, praise the Lord, thanks be to God, this wonderful thing is going to happen to me, because that's what Mary said, and Mary became very blessed. Zechariah, on the other hand, although the miracle took place, there was a consequence of that negative opinion in that he couldn't speak for 9 months, and as a priest, that became a real handicap until the baby was finally born. Just think of all the people in the Bible who, when God revealed what they were to do, they had a negative response. Gideon, for example. When Gideon was told by the angel, you're going to go out there and you're going to help defeat the enemy, he said, who am I that I should do this? I come from the least family in all the families, and I'm the least in my family. And in other words, I'm the least likely person to get nominated for the task. And he was told, go in the strength that you have, and great things are going to happen. There was no negative consequence to him because his lack of confidence was in himself, not in what God could accomplish. And therefore, he received the blessing and achieved that goal. Go in the strength that you have. So if God is speaking to you and telling you to do something, you go in what you analyze yourself. What is your strength? Whatever that is, that's what you go with. Moses had the same reaction on Mount Sinai. When the burning bush revealed to him God's will, he said, "Who am I that I should go? I can't do it." And God's reply was, "I will be with you." Jonah, on the other hand, when he was revealed the will of God, said flatly, "No, I won't do it." His life became an utter disaster. Refusing to obey, put on a ship, thrown overboard, swallowed by a whale, at the bottom in the darkness of the sea. There was great consequences, negative consequences, until he finally accepted the will of God. Joseph and Mary, on the other hand, righteous and obedient, miracles performed in their life. Wonderful things happened. We can look at the life of Jacob, as we discussed it in the Bible study, who stole the birthright. Although he got the birthright and everything worked out great for Jacob, still there were consequences for Jacob. Things didn't go right when he wanted to get married. He walked down the aisle with the wrong girl. He had to wait he waited 7 years for that one, and the father gave him the wrong wife. Then he had to wait another 7 years. It took him 14 years to straighten it all out because of his negative reaction. So, if God is asking you to do something, practice, your response should be, "Oh, praise and honor to God, I'm going to obey whatever you tell me to do." That's not what I wanted to talk about today, but that brings me up to date. Now, you want to talk about your inspiration. What is your inspiration in your life? What does it mean to inspire? It means to inhale, to bring in the breath, and spiritually speaking, it means inhale the Spirit of God. So you need to inspire. If you look up the word inspire, it says to influence, to impel, to animate. If you're inspired, you should be animated. To guide or control by divine influence, and to breathe in. You want to breathe in the Spirit of God. You want to be inspired. That's the trouble with many churches today. Nobody's inspired. Instead, look at the opposite, expired. If you go to Food Town and you want to go shopping and you have a handful of coupons, and at the end of the day, when you go to pay at the end of the day and you want to pay for your thing, and they look at it and they go, "Sorry, it's expired." The coupon's not going to do you any good. It's expired. Expired when you go to the hospital and you're told that your friend who was in the room is expired. You know what that means. It's not a good thing. You want to be inspired, not expired. I was thinking when I was thinking about this, how Paul McCartney, they had this thing years ago. Do you remember that, where they said Paul McCartney was dead? You don't remember that? Thank you, Loretta. Paul McCartney was dead. Let me prove it to you. Now, in this record, which was printed in the 60s, there were many clues in the record to prove Paul McCartney had expired. Did you know that? Did you know you could put this record on your turntable, and if you play it backwards, it tells the death of Paul McCartney? Did you know that? See how little you know. By the way, this is a record. It's called a record. If you put this on a turntable and put a needle on it, it actually plays music. Yeah. And there's all kinds of clues in the album to tell you that Paul McCartney died. For example, here he is sitting and it goes, "I was." See, that was a clue that he was dead. There's a picture of him later in the album that with somebody's hand over his head. That's supposed to be a symbol of death, that Paul McCartney's dead. Here's a picture of them playing, and there's surgeons standing behind the band. See, Paul McCartney's dead. Now, I played the album backwards. You got to do it by hand. And you hear an ambulance, so you hear things happening, and it goes, "He's left you. He's expired." And this was the famous clue. This album must be worth millions, Joe. We're going to sell it at the next auction because this is an original. Then they had the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club. And it's the same thing. There's clues in the album. I actually bought this album when I was in seminary. I know all the songs by heart. And there are clues in here how Paul McCartney expired. But my favorite album, I just happened to get looking at my albums, was my Jimi Hendrix Are You Experienced album. I was in seminary when I bought this album, and they had a dance one night, and the couples that lived on campus threw this dance, and they were playing music, and the older couples of seminary were sitting there having a good time. And I said, "You know, I just bought an album. I love it. Would you like to hear it?" Well, I put on Jimi Hendrix, and the first song was Purple Haze. And the second song was Manic Depression. I Don't Live Today, The Wind Cries Mary, Fire, Third Stone from the Sun, Foxy Lady, and Are You Experienced? And when I put it on, they said, Joe, shut the music off. Take that record and take it home, man. But there's my thing. So Paul McCartney expired, according to that. Of course, you know he's alive. It was a big hoax, but it made a lot of money. You don't want to expire. You want to inspire. People can be uninspired. You go to hear somebody speaking, oh, man, that was terrible. I was totally uninspired. You don't want to hear that kind of talk. You want to hear an inspiring talk. You want the movie to motivate you. You want to have some enthusiasm. You want the guy up there, he won't get a lot of sleep the night before and eat your Wheaties and inspire us, for God's sakes, Reverend. Stop laying down and doing nothing. Get us inspired. So yesterday, seeing Talbert do all those things, that was inspiring. Yesterday, seeing everybody bring all these things and decorate, that's inspiring. Seeing 350 kids get gifts, that's inspiring. Jesus was a motivator. He wasn't a killer of motivation. He didn't expire people. He inspired people. When he came with the spiritual coupons to the checkout list, they said, these have not expired. These coupons will never expire. They're good for eternity. The coupons Jesus is going to give to you. You don't want to be expired. It's like that guy that came to the church. I've told this story 100 times in my ministry, 50 years. You hear it again. When the guy came to the church and the church was on fire, the guy who stood outside looking at the church on fire never went to church, and the minister was ticked off. He went over to him. He said, you never came to church before. Why are you looking at my church now? He said, well, your church has never been on fire before. The church has got to be on fire. It's like the actor who talked to the preacher, and the preacher said to the actor, everybody goes to see your play. Hamilton, thousands. They pay $1,000 a ticket. They all go there. They go to see Cats. Cats, thousands of people. They make a movie out of it. Thousands of people. You go on stage and you're in Cats, and it's a fiction. It's a made-up story. It's not even true. Here I'm preaching the truth and nobody comes. What's wrong? He said, Reverend, here's the problem. I present my fiction as though it were fact. You're presenting your facts as though it were fiction. Get real. See, in Genesis, God breathed into the nostril of Adam the breath of life. He inspired him, see? He inspired the breath of life. John says God gave the life-giving Spirit. Pentecost descended like a fire upon them, and they spoke in other tongues. You must be inspired. You must take the Spirit of God, the idea, the mission, and become inspired. What is the inspiration? What is your dream? What is your vision? Where are you going to be in 10 years, especially young people? Where are you going to be in 20 years? I know where I'm going to be in 50 years. Every time I go to the doctor, people say, how'd you make it? I say, well, not too good. The doctor said I'll be dead in 50 years. Yeah, well, it's a joke. I'd be 120. Oh, I might still be around. You never know. You must inspire people. Then you have to aspire. You know, Bobby Fitzgerald and Bruce Hawkins were both policemen in New Brunswick. They both ran the 100-yard dash when I was in high school. You know what the record was in the high school for the 100-yard dash? 9.9 seconds. I saw him at the reunion. I said, oh, Bob, how you doing? You ran the 100-yard dash in 9.9. He said, that was many years ago. Many years ago. 9.9. Just think about it. If your goal is to run 100 yards, you could run it in 10 seconds. Run it in 10 seconds. So your inspiration is to run 100 yards. You can run it in 10 seconds. But what if you put hurdles on that track? What if you run the low hurdles, high hurdles, 100-yard hurdles, 220 hurdles? Now you got to go over 10 hurdles. We had a guy they called him Nobby because his knees were all banged up because he was a hurdler, but he knocked everyone over. As long as you stay in the lane, you make it to the finish line, you've run the race. And that's how life is. 100 yards, very easy. Put hurdles before you and it becomes difficult. Once you have an inspiration and you're trying to aspire by doing things, There's going to be all kinds of hurdles in front of you. People, they can hardly wait to make things difficult for you. It kind of seems that way, doesn't it? Now you get on a 100-yard out in the open field. You run the 100 yards, 9.9. But what if 12 guys were be out there to try to stop you? It might take you a little longer, even if you had people to help you. And it might take you 5 minutes to get what would have taken you 10 seconds. And that's what life is like. Everything is in the way, and you have to aspire to that goal. It's not easy to get to the goal. It's not easy to become a concert pianist. It's not easy to become a champion figure skater. It's not easy to become a professional baseball player. It's not easy to accomplish these things. But once you inspire the will of God and know what it is, now you have to aspire and expect it to be difficult. It's not going to be easy. Anything that's going to be worth anything is going to be difficult. But we press on to the goal, said Paul. I don't box aimlessly, but I know what I'm trying to accomplish. I know where I'm trying to get. Joseph had a great dream, and he shared it with his brothers. They probably shouldn't have told him anything because they got jealous. He said, I'm going to be a great dreamer, and people are going to bow down to me. In fact, brothers, my 11 brothers, you're all going to bow down to me. I had this dream. Oh, that was the worst thing you could have done. Try telling your brother or sister that. See what happens. They got rid of him. They threw him in a pit. They were going to kill him. They sold him to the Ishmaelites. His inspiration cost him. And then he had to aspire. He had to continue to use his gifts. Continue to work towards the goal. When Moses came back and wanted to free the slaves, the Pharaoh wasn't too happy about that. He says, you're not taking anybody anywhere. We're going to kill everybody. We're going to make it harder. You're going to have to make more bricks now. And the hurdle became more and more difficult, but it was by the power of Almighty God that he was able to aspire towards his goal. Nebuchadnezzar and the kings of Babylon, kings of Persia. You take someone like Daniel, who his goal was to be true to God, not to eat the wrong foods, to pray, to stay spiritually strong. And everything in the foreign land was trying to change that for him and take it away from him. And Paul, he lists in Corinthians all the things that happened to him. All the things. Persecutions, whippings, flogging, stoning, everything to stop him. But nothing would stop it. So if you want the goal, you've got to reach for the moon. You've got to wish on a star. Yeah, that's an Elvis Presley song, you know. Reaching for the moon. You ever hear that song? Yeah, reaching for the moon and wishing on a star. You got to wake up from your nightmare and start living your dream. You got to realize God's promises are like the stars. The darker it gets, the brighter they shine. You got to stop asking God to bless what you're doing and start doing what God is blessing. You got to go through the doors that God opens for you. You got to remind yourself that God uses imperfect people and imperfect circumstances to bring about His will in your life. Because while you're asking God to do things for you, God is waiting for you to do things through you. God doesn't respond to your need. He responds to your faith. Every time Jesus performed a miracle, He went to the person, He said, your faith has made you well. He didn't say, you're so sick, God felt sorry for you, and He healed you whether you wanted it or not. No, He said, your faith has brought this miracle in your life. Your faith has made this possible. You're inspired, you're aspiring, and your faith has made you well. Joseph and Mary were obedient and blessed and used by God. Wise men noticed the star and followed the star. Shepherd heard the angels and obeyed the chorus. It was the plan, predicted for centuries and brought together through perfection of God's divine will. You see, one person can make the whole difference. You can make the whole difference. One idea can change the course of events. It can change the course of history. One dream can alter your destiny. If that inspiration comes from God and you bring it into your soul and you aspire for it to happen. Here's a couple quotes to end with from Joel Osteen. And by the way, the book I was quoting is called Your Best Life Now. Some of you asked me about it. God usually meets us at our level of expectancy. Get it? God meets us at our level of... So if you're expecting, you're not going to make it across the finish line. You're not going to make that touchdown. You probably won't. They're all going to knock you down. Forget it. You have great goals. You go say to yourself, I'm a loser. I'll never make it. I'm a big loser. Nothing ever I do ever amounts to anything. Oh, well, then that's probably going to happen. Because what we think about, we bring about. What we think about, we bring about. He says, break out of your self-imposed prison. Think about, we bring about. What we think about, we bring about. He says, break out of your self-imposed prison. Your limited thinking. Break out of your self-imposed prison. Expect good things in your life and start believing God for good and great future. Have great expectations. What you receive is directly connected with how you believe. We affect generations to come with decisions we make today. And if you can change your thinking, God can change your life. Ask God to put fire in your soul and to inspire you so you can aspire as you dedicate yourself to it. Well, Jesus said in Luke 4, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He anointed me to preach the good news to the poor. He sent me to proclaim release to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, and to set at liberty those who are oppressed, and to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. There it is. Amen. Let us pray. Almighty God, Christmas centers on Christ. What a time of year. We're hearing all this music, Christmas music. People are going traffic jams and decorating, shopping. It's great. What a season. May we have that same enthusiasm for serving Jesus Christ. May we have the same desire. As people say, man, you like Christmas all the time. Well, may we be serving Jesus with enthusiasm and motivation every day of our lives. Every day we get up, we dedicate ourselves to that. May we open our hearts to receive the vision, the dream, the inspiration. What's the plan for our life? May we ask you for it, receive it, dedicate ourselves to it, and let nothing take it away from us. Keep our focus. Bless everybody with that today. Lift them to a higher level of living, dedicated to your will in our lives. And bless everybody here today who's thinking about others who might be ill or sick or have a problem. May the miracle worker Jesus touch everybody's life we're thinking about. Heal them.